How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sunday, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern. Yes, I'm here today, Friday, here on the program. And we got a lot to talk about here today, don't we? Oh, man, do we ever. Well, the PG era of Raw, I got to sneeze. What a start. I should have had Sempervive do the show today. I just cursed from the opening bell. A PG era of WWE Raw may be coming to an end, we wrote yesterday, or we explained to you yesterday. Now, it may not be coming to an end. So we're going to tell you what's going on. Because, in fact, there is a lot to talk about with this story. And a lot of people have already made up their minds about this story. But I'll tell you why you should never do that. But anyway, we'll say about Raw, TV 14, TV PG, etc., the latest as of today. I also got notes on Cody Rhodes and his pec surgery, Adam Cole and his not labrum surgery. We've got a new NXT gimmick where they actually released the names of the talent prior to the talent actually getting their new gimmick, unless there's a change. And sometimes there are changes, but we'll get into that. Fyter Fest Night 1. We got the ratings for Dynamite on Wednesday, which did pretty well, and more. We also have a lot of guests coming on the program today. Keith Lipinski is going to join us in the final segment of the show. Got a lot to talk about with him. Dave Meltzer in the second segment of the show. Newest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter is available on the front page of WrestlingObserver.com right now. Everything you ever wanted to know about everything that happened this past week. 35,000 words of news and entertainment in the New Observer. So we'll talk today about the top stories. And you can join us today as well. 425-780-7566 is the text message line. 425-780-7566. Back in a moment with more Observer Live.
AEW's Brody King compilation.
They were not. They weren't renewing any contracts that were coming up, and they weren't discussing it with anybody. You know, my contract was going to be renegotiated in December, and it was about October, I think, when it was like when everything kind of shut down, October, November, and they hadn't said anything to me, and I know a few others that they hadn't said anything to, and I was like, well, that's.
Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live, Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. May I have a moment here for a quick speech?
Sure.
Hey, listen. If you're listening to this show, or you go online to get the wrestling news, and you follow the business, and et cetera, you have two choices here, okay? You can either be willing to learn from anybody, or you can create your own reality, okay? Which is usually not right. I mean, if you enjoy living in an alternate reality from the rest of the world, you're welcome to do that. But if you actually want to know what's going on, you can learn from anybody, or you can create your own reality. So, this is not a new thing. Everyone always talks about social media, and this has been going on for, probably a million years or however long there have been people. But you hear about it now because of social media. So, some people don't like Andrew Zarian, okay? Some people don't like me. I know that's impossible to believe, but it's true. Some people don't like me. Some people don't like Dave. Some people don't like Jim Cornette. Some people don't like Vince Russo. Do I need to go on? I think everyone doesn't like Kevin Dunn. That's pretty much a universal. But the point is, so, if you don't like Andrew, that's fine, okay? But Andrew did not screw up this PG TV-14 story at all, okay? What happened was, yesterday, there was a memo sent out that stated that this Monday, Raw was going to TV-14, okay? This is 100%. I saw this memo. Andrew saw this memo. I believe Sean Ross Sapp also saw this memo. I think Dave saw the memo. This memo absolutely, positively, it was sent out. There were discussions about Raw internally, both at the network and in WWE, about the show moving to TV-14 on Monday. I heard from people that overheard Kevin Dunn talking about it. 100%. Absolutely. Okay? Then, and I have an idea why, because I was kind of given the impression that because it got out, because it broke or whatever, they rescinded it. But there was another memo that was sent out that said to disregard the first memo. I saw this memo as well. I believe that Sean Ross Sapp and Andrew, I believe everyone also saw this memo. This memo 100% went out. So why? The question is not, why, blah, blah, blah. The question is, why did it get rescinded? And I don't know. I kind of had the impression that it got rescinded because it got out. And as of yesterday, the word was that it's not 100% that they're not going to TV-14. It does not appear they're going to TV-14 Monday, but by the end of today, maybe they will be going TV-14 Monday. There is a push from the USA Network to go to TV-14. Now, when you talk about TVPG and TV-14, one of the reasons you choose to be TVPG instead of TV-14 is for the advertisers. So it doesn't matter if WWE wants to go TV-14. It honestly doesn't even really matter if USA wants to go TV-14. If the advertisers push back against TV-14, you can't go TV-14. USA would like to go TV-14. I don't think WWE... I mean, I know that WWE would as well for reasons that are not the reasons that you think. But they would like to go TV-14 as well. But it's not a guarantee that they will be able to go TV-14. But as of yesterday, the idea was it's probably going to happen, but it's probably not going to happen Monday. And that's the story. It's not even a story about, well, it's better to be right than first. I did hear, I won't throw anybody under the bus, but I did hear that one. That's not what this is, okay? This absolutely was happening, and then they changed their mind. So, I could wait until everyone else reports that, and then I wouldn't be first, but I'd be right. Or I can just be right and tell you that that's what happened. So, Yes. You know, if you don't like somebody, you can decide that they had to have screwed up and been wrong. But sometimes, and this goes for everybody, sometimes someone that you don't like is right. I like Andrew, by the way. He's a good guy.
I do too. And USA was a number 1 rated cable television network for 15 years. Decade and a half, 14 years, 15 years, long time. They are now struggling over the last several years to stay in contention of the top 5. With all the Turners and the Discoveries, and you take HGTV, and you take the Food Network, and you take Hallmark. Forget about what Univision is taking on a network scale in many places. USA absolutely would like to go TV 14. You need to dot I's, you need to cross T's. There are memos that get leaked. This was one of the memos. I know of one. Everybody else is saying what Bryan said, they know of 2. I think that's kind of that. And is everybody going to be right on every story? No, it happens. You get worked on a story, you have a source screw up a story, you have things that happen. Even if you try to two-source it in wrestling, it's really tough to find 2 separate individual sources to do things, but this is something that multiple sources had.
Yeah, and may I jump in? He was right. That's the point I'm trying to make. He was right, yes. Okay? If I'll give you an example. Well, anything. If like this past Sunday, when I went down the lineup for Raw, there were 3 matches for Raw. I got them all off WWE.com. By Monday, they'd removed 2 of them from WWE.com, and there was only 1. That doesn't mean I was wrong on Sunday. I was right. What happened was they stopped billing 2 of those matches. So this is not an example of him being wrong. It absolutely 100% happened, and then they changed it. So he was right.
Is that?
Yes.
That's that.
That's that.
Let's keep it moving.
It's going to be happy when they do move TV 14. Then whatever's going to say.
They want to see Otis in a bikini. I think somebody said it in one of the...
It ain't going to be Otis in a bikini.
Why? He already yacked
Bro,
on...
you can do Otis in a bikini.
Was that PG, him yakking?
Yeah.
Was that the setup for
this? He can barf on TV at TV PG.
That's true. You can't do that on television. You get the green slime pouring down, so the barf is okay. That is just childish in the way that Vince McMahon thinks about things. That's why the most remembered scene from Hulk Hogan in No Holds Barred is, what's that smell? It smells like Dookie. So, there you go. Dookie.
What are you talking about, dude? I'm moving this show to TV, what's before
MA?
PG? No.
Can I, oh, wait. Kids? What's the kid one?
TVY.
Why? In that, wait.
For youth. TVY. Goes TVY, then TV PG, then TV 14.
You say the F word every other week.
No, I don't. No, I don't. Don't start rumors, Mike. Because that's an example of you being wrong. Hey, did you know Cody Rhodes revealed he almost hemorrhaged during surgery to repair his torn pec?
Oh, come on.
It looked like he was hemorrhaging the whole time.
Did he really? Did he really? What did he say? I haven't heard the story yet. He almost hemorrhaged?
I was told last time I was there for my big checkup after PT. They are not going to give me a timeline just yet for when I'm going to be back because they're afraid if they give me that timeline, I'm going to try to jump it by maybe a month or 2. They know this Cody. I don't think people know I almost hemorrhaged in the surgery because there was so much blood. People have seen the picture of it in the match, per se, so it was pretty gnarly. He revealed that WWE had been filming a documentary on his return. I hope they didn't film the surgery with all the blood.
I bet you they did.
Since WrestleMania, WWE's been doing a documentary on me, potentially for Peacock. I'm positive somebody's about to text me and be like, oh, don't tell them. But either way, they're going to do this documentary. And then he said, quote, my titty exploded, and the documentary changed greatly.
Hey, you know what? Hey, equality. How many times have we heard about a titty exploding? I don't know if we can say that, FCC. How many times have you heard about an implant or a breast exploding from one of the women? So it might as well have the equality across the board. Cody is here for you, folks. He's ended such things as racism. He's ended a lot of things. And you know what? Everybody on the main field now, if you're going to blow a titty, I am too. Congratulations, Cody Rhodes. He is one of the best workers of this era. I am becoming more and more convinced has nothing to do with him inside the ring. That dude knows where he is at all times right now.
Back in a moment with Dave, Observer Live.
Strange that like they have all these big players that they probably would want to keep with their deals coming up, and nobody's discussing it with them. So it was like, I feel like a lot of people maybe wanted to pretend like that wasn't the case, but you know, if you look at it in a business standpoint, that's probably not a good sign. And yeah, I don't know. It just seemed like that, you know, especially since we were doing shows with crowds again, the crowds weren't great, and there's only so much you can do with a big roster with a lot of money and not a lot of people in the crowd. So, I mean, like when the news for Ring of Honor broke, I feel like Malachi, Tom, and I had already been discussing this House of Black dream scenario of like, what if, and you know, if it could happen, and how to kind of get the wheels moving on that. And I think that we were already discussing like possibly trying to do like PWG, like trying to like set the groundwork for it. So it was very much like in the works already, and we had already been, you know, discussing like the what ifs and what we could do with it, and like bouncing ideas off each other. But I talked to Tony very shortly after the news from Ring of Honor broke, and you know, he invited me out to a couple of the shows, and we discussed things, and that's when the whole House of Black idea really came to fruition. And you know, it seemed like a good fit, and everything kind of fell into place. So I was very fortunate that like I kind of had a plan already, and it just kind of was an easier decision. You know, there wasn't like, well, do I stay at Ring of Honor or do I go to AEW? Like, it was like, well, there's no more Ring of Honor, so here we go. I hate doing the blackout like reveal, because I just have this fear that I'm just gonna fall and like break my neck on the way to the ring, and like they're gonna restore the lights, and I'm like, you know, unconscious on the floor. Did my Ring of Honor debut, it was pitch black in the ECW arena, and it was like me running down the ramp and hoping that I just didn't eat it on the way. So it's not my favorite way to debut, but you know, it makes for a good reveal. The crowd was chanting my name when the lights went out, because Malachi had set all these like Easter eggs about me coming in, and then you know, afterwards, I think it was Sting came up to me. He's like, "Man, that was awesome! Like, you guys have such a cool look together. Like, you guys look so intense." I was just like, "You're fucking Sting! Like, this is sick."
Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Dave Meltzer joining us. Newest edition of The Observer, front page of WrestlingObserver.com. You can head up there as a subscriber to WrestlingObserver.com. You can read the new Observer. You can read about 2,000 back issues of The Observer in the archives, dating back to 1992. You can listen to every single one of our podcasts dating back to 2005. 13,000 shows. That's a lot of shows. And the new Observer, Dave, is headlined by more on this Vince McMahon story. And I had a question unrelated to the issue. There's a new article about this in Variety today, correct?
Yes, I read the article, yeah.
Why in the world is every article dropping on a Friday? It's like the worst day to gain any traction.
I don't really have a good answer for that, other than in the mainstream media, Friday's actually considered a good day to drop an article. So that's why. But there really wasn't. The Variety article really didn't have much in it. As far as it's an article in a major media publication. So the fact that it's there was was interesting because it gives the story legs. But there wasn't like any what I would call new information broken in the article either.
Dave, a lot of people have been surprised, including the journal authors themselves, that there has not been a little bit more groundswell after that second article. A lot of people are taking the silence from other media sources as they may not care about it, but sometimes sources like to work things out for themselves, and Variety obviously reporting on it. They didn't do any really new reporting, but has there been anyone, to your knowledge, that is working on a story that you could say maybe has contacted you, or do you have any idea if there's any feelers out there from anybody else that's looking into this from any level, whether it be a business point of view or a personal McMahon point of view or anything like that?
The only stuff I have done is a couple of radio shows, stemming from the second article, and I did an interview with Bloomberg. But I mean, as far as no, not really. And you would think I would be one of the key people you would go to. Basically, the answer is no.
So, as noted, the first story got a lot of attention. Vince came out, acted like a weirdo on TV. Second story came out, lost a lot less traction. No Vince McMahon on television,
and no ratings. The first one led to a big ratings boost for Raw and SmackDown that week. The second one led to nothing. I mean, I don't think that it hurt the ratings, but it certainly, the numbers for both Raw and SmackDown were down. Although Raw was going to be down no matter what because it was coming off of, well, actually Raw was up. I take that back because it's July 4th, but it was down from usual.
So what do you? I mean, we've talked about this. You asked me on Sunday, like, what do you make of this? And I said, well, I'll see what happens this week. And literally nothing happened this week. So now I'm starting to feel more and more that there probably is nothing coming of this. But I guess we do have to wait until the investigation is over.
There may be nothing coming of this. Well, I mean, the reporters from the Wall Street Journal said they're still going to be working on stuff. But I mean, as far as something actually coming from this, nothing is going to come of this unless somebody really damaging comes forward, or the investigation comes in and the investigation reveals something that he won't be able to survive. But the investigation will come in at some point, and at that point, whatever it reveals is going to be the end of the story. And probably what will end up is he'll either be back as CEO or he'll be out. I don't think there's going to be a middle ground.
We got the G1 starting tonight, I believe, actually.
Middle of the night tonight, yeah.
Middle of the night tonight. And I guess, this is not your favorite G1 in terms of the lineup and the way that it's structured, with everyone only having 6 matches instead of 9.
Yeah, it's a much weaker tournament than than any of the last 10 years, probably, as far as less what I would call on paper super matches, because they're spread up into 4 blocks, and every block has a couple of weak links in it. So I think that the match quality is going to be way down. As far as excitement level, I guess we'll see how people are into 4 blocks instead of 2. I mean, that's uncharted water, so to speak.
New psychology for Jado, too, because you can't have that situation here where somebody goes on a losing streak or a winning streak early because you only have those 6 block matches. So It's going to really change up how he does everything.
Right, because we've had those years where a guy will lose like 2 matches right away, or sometimes even 3 matches right away, and then do the big comeback at the end. Or you'll have the guy start out with 6 big wins in a row, and then, doesn't win the block because they start losing at the end. And you really only have probably 1 match giveaway to do this. So like Jay White, let's say if he loses his first match, but you want him to come back to win, and I'm just throwing out a name, he pretty much has to win. I mean, I don't think you can, with 6 matches, I think that maybe you'll have a block where 4 and 2, if it's with the right 4 and 2, can win. But boy, literally, if you 2 losses is the most you can have, and that's it.
Now, oftentimes, not always, if it is your first ever G1, you do a lot of losing. But
often, yes.
Yes, Filthy Tom is he was the openweight champion for over a year. They pushed him super strong on New Japan Strong, and a lot of people have been looking at his block. And some people have said, I wouldn't be surprised if he lost every match, but beat Okada. But then, of course,
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, you'd be setting up a title match with a guy who actually lost every other match in the block. So I don't see that happening.
No,
but
no, they're not going to give a title match to a guy who goes 1-5 in G1.
Yes. How do you think that he will do for his first time?
It's hard to say. I think he's just going to be. I don't think. Okay, I'm going to go 2 or 3 wins would be my prediction. Okay.
Now, also, we got SummerSlam coming up as well. We're about a couple of weeks away, in fact. They have passed 30,000, but well below what they did last year.
Yes.
But still, they are at 30,000, which is pretty good for SummerSlam.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, and what's your feeling as to how this show's going to do? Because Money in the Bank apparently there was more interest than at least I figured there would be.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I actually should look that up actually today, as far as like the interest level of everything. But SummerSlam, I mean, the interest level will be high because of the name SummerSlam and because of the idea, whether this ends up being true or not, that this is the finale of Reigns and Lesnar, who are the 2 biggest stars of the current era. That. So in a sense, this blow off should be huge. I don't think it's going to be as huge as it would have been in another era by any means, but I do think it's, for this era, I think it's going to be fairly big. The thing that's interesting is I think the late August is better than late July for a date, but I guess we'll see. Just that my feeling is, because I know that like with TV and everything, people start getting like back to the norm by the end of the summer, but July 30th, you're in the middle of the summer, so that's a low, that's when people are watching the least.
Well, I kind of also feel that I like August better. I think that the middle of August would be good. I think if you get to late August, I think a lot of people, if they have kids, or they're doing that one last big summer trip before the kids go back to school. So I don't think like the last week of August would necessarily be the best time to do it. I think mid-August would be all right. But the thing with the Reigns Lesnar match,
they're also head-to-head with UFC, which is not. It's not a kiss of death because they're not on pay-per-view, but if they were still doing a pay-per-view model, going head-to-head with UFC would be absolutely stupid.
I also think in terms of interest in the main event, I mean, I know they're billing it as a blow-off and everything like that, but I think if you did a poll, I don't think you'd find one person who would say, I believe these 2 men will never wrestle again on a big show.
Yeah,
I can't unless something tragic occurred. Like they're obviously going to have another match.
Well, I mean, like look, it's WWE and stipulations. I mean, the rule is that you don't take it seriously because they don't take it seriously.
Another thing that you talk about in many of the Observer issues actually is a lot of people when they see these numbers, whether it be Raw, Dynamite, Rampage, a lot of talk about pro wrestling. These numbers used to be so big, and now what's happening?
It's a different world.
It is. And how are all of the shows doing in terms of the cable charts?
Well,
because really, it's doing well.
NXT is usually between 9 and 22 in its time slot. Rampage is sometimes 1, often 2 or 3. Well, the worst I think has been about 5. Dynamite is usually 1 or 2. Raw will be number 1. It won't be number 1 this week because of Home Run Derby, but Raw will be number 1 all through the summer until football season starts, and then it will probably be number 2 all through football season. So, yeah, I mean, it's wrestling's doing really, really well on cable. When you look at those lower numbers compared to 10 years ago or 20 years ago, it's everything is like that. So it's not really, when people do that thing, it's very disingenuous. People watch in different ways. I mean, the things that you should look at is, how many people are going to the matches. That's a really good barometer to tell you how much interest there is. And with WWE, it's low end of usual. And with AEW for a secondary promotion, it's kind of phenomenal, even though WWE's ahead of AEW, so it's like wrestling's doing fine, and there's indies all over the place. I mean, the number of shows on any given Friday or Saturday is ridiculously high. I mean, there's certainly people with agendas that want to prove somehow that, like, by TV ratings that wrestling's dead. But if you use that, baseball's dead, and it's not dead. Basketball's dead, and it's not dead. You know what I mean? Every genre is dead based on the way people will say wrestling is dead.
All right.
But all these things are alive.
Yep, we have to head out. I want to thank you so much for doing the show today. Back in a moment with more, everybody. Observer Live.
AEW's Brody King Q&A Part 1. Question number 1. What would you consider the craziest thing you've ever done?
Went to a drag bar and had a lip sync contest against the drag king. So that's a pretty good one.
What songs did you sing?
Bad Romance by Lady Gaga.
Yes. I take it you're a Lady Gaga fan.
Very much so.
Hell yeah, I love it. Oh, that is so cool. You know what? It's how you live your life. You celebrate this big MSG show. You go sing, have a good time. Live it up in New York. I love it. Number 2, best thing about being a dad.
All of it. It's the best thing in the world.
Next question. Is there a tattoo you regret?
Well, the one I did regret, I covered it up. So underneath this giant front piece is a tattoo I did not like at all. And that's kind of like where I'm at now, is I don't have a lot of room for new tattoos, so I'm just covering up the ones I don't care for anymore.
You're like, I'm done with this one. New one up there.
Yeah, just put another sticker on it.
What's the craziest thing you've ever seen PCO do?
Oh my God. I mean, I'll give you like a top 3.
Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. I set up a very special guest today. Dr. Keith Lipinski is joining us. Mike doesn't know what's going on, but I'll fill him in as the show goes on, because we got a lot to talk about here today. Don't we, Dr. Keith?
We always do. Hey, Brian. Hey, Mike. Great to be on, talking to you from my spacious WCW-themed bathroom.
So do you actually have a WCW-themed bathroom? And if so, why?
This isn't a Zoom background, baby. This is real. This is authentic Great American Bash 1991 poster. This is a Where the Big Boys Play flag that I got from Stash Pages, which, yes, I realize Where the Big Boys Play in a bathroom is not a good thing. This behind me, this isn't a gimmick. This is an actual shower, Brian.
Yes,
Did you get divorced?
I can tell by the audio this has definitely been being recorded in a bathroom. But yes, listen, I don't know your wife, but I remember when you guys got married. You've been on the show since 2005, 2006. There's no way she's letting you keep that stuff up there all the time. You put it up for the show.
She never uses this. She
doesn't bathe?
This is the downstairs bathroom. Like, this is like where I use it, my son uses it, and that's it.
I
like,
see.
Considering my son uses it, maybe I should cover up some of this Melinda Hyatt stuff. But no, she's all about this. Like, she realizes how much joy I have. Like, she decorates every room in the house. I have 2 rooms. I have this bathroom, which is WCW based, and also a little ECW and world class. And then upstairs in my office, it's an All Japan based from the 1990s. So those are my 2 rooms. I get to do whatever I want with them. She gets the rest of our spacious estate.
I got to be honest, I'm for this because most men are reduced to one room. They have one man cave, one office, one den, something like that. You are actually expanding out into the bathroom. This may be a good thing. You may be able to get up the steps and maybe able to get a little bit of hallway out of that deal.
I could potentially get more hallway if I want to, but isn't that the goal of any man, Mike, really, when you think about it? So,
Keith, can I ask you a question, a serious question?
Of course.
Why do you like WCW?
WCW to me was in the early 90s. To me, it seemed so much more realistic and so much more fun than WWE was. Like, when I grew up as a wrestling fan, like Hogan and those bigger than life characters were fun, but like Ric Flair seemed more legitimate. Sting seemed a lot more fun than Ultimate Warrior, who kept on talking to his hands. So to me, WCW always was my favorite promotion sort of growing up. And even though someone wrote a tremendous book of the death of WCW, it's still, I have a real soft spot in my heart for WCW. Recently, one of my rewatching projects has been watching all the Super Brawls, and it's been quite enjoyable until I hit like 1995 and 1996.
So we're talking you're mostly a fan of pre-98 World Championship.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that goes without saying, but I can enjoy the 99 stuff on a different level because I love torturing myself with what I'm watching, or sitting there and just enjoying the sort of myopia of everything that went down after that. So in the Russo era, like I've done several Russo era rewatches and I'm still sane. So that's still, but of course now I have a bathroom dedicated.
I was going to say, you got a bathroom with WCW posters all over, so I don't know if we should talk about your sanity.
I think I'm still pretty good for a 47, 48-year-old.
Well, that's true. That's true. Now, when you watch these old Super Brawls, I mean, do you get ideas for AAW?
Oh, absolutely. All I'm doing is watching to rip stuff off.
Okay.
Especially for our AAW show live tonight on Fight TV. No, it's something where I like figure out stuff that hasn't been done in a while, and I'll jot it down, or I'll text somebody, or I'll sit there and just steal commentary quotes and send them to Joe Dombrowski or Tyler Volz for our show tonight. Like, it's those kind of things.
Well, here's a question for you. You may not have a good answer, but I'll put you on the spot. So recently, Impact did a Slammiversary, whatever, an anniversary show, and they brought back the Reverse Battle Royal, a match that no one had seen since 2006. And the reason was because it sucked. That's why nobody has repeated the Reverse Battle Royal. So as you watch these old Super Brawls, or any show, what is the best idea that you have seen that nobody had done in a long time, but was actually a good idea? Because usually if it's a bad idea, you don't see it for a long time sometimes. But what's the best idea? We're like, my God, how come no one's done Battle Bowl, for example, since...
Oh, no, Battle Bowl is terrible. Like, every once in a while, someone will suggest Battle Bowl, and they'll be like, no, that is a terrible, like, lethal lottery stink. There's been a lot of stuff where I've watched where I've been like, okay, this isn't a good idea. I was always a big fan of Paulie Dangerously being Ricky Steamboat's Mysterious Ninja, and I really feel that if anything, professional wrestling in 2022, especially independent professional wrestling, needs more ninjas. So potentially, basically heel managers dressed up like ninjas is something where I think I would like to see that brought back into wrestling immediately.
I don't know if you're aware of this or not, Keith, but he's probably not either of our friends. But Ed in San Antonio ran a show in Vegas, and it was an all ladies show. And I decided, you know what, I'm gonna hitch my wagon to this young superstar, Billy Starks, and I'm gonna manage her here tonight. And long story short, it didn't go as I'd planned, but I was very, very impressed with Billy Starks. Then I find out she's, 17?
She's a youngin'. She's actually debuting for us tonight in a 4-way.
How old is she?
I believe she's of legal age, Brian.
Well, I'm not asking like that, you creep. I'm just saying.
Well, I'm telling you that way, you creep.
Well, I
don't have her ID.
She's like a year older than Nick Wayne.
Yes, well, I think
Nick Wayne looks kind of like a
yes.
little kid, and So anyway,
no RF jokes here, Sempervive.
And then she said, she goes, I've been wrestling for I forget what she said, but it was like 5 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if she wants me to tell this story or not. So, this is Ed running the show. Okay? And so he doesn't know what he's doing. And so we're sitting back there. It's like, well, when are we on? And no one knows. And it's like, well, where's the line? Well, there's no lineup. There's not even a lineup for this show, okay? So, he's a nice guy and all, but, we're about, I don't know, we're sitting around for about a half hour trying to figure out what's going on, and then, I'm going to go down and do a promo, and it's like, do we got to tell the music? Has anyone told the music guy? No one's told the music guy. Okay, well, I guess I got to tell the music guy. We're doing all this, and then, I think she was 17, or I don't know how old she was, but the point is she's super young in this business, and she just goes, sometimes I hate this business. And I thought, listen, I've been around I've heard that many times. But usually, they're in their 30s or 40s. I've never heard someone they can't even drive. I guess she can probably drive, but can't even drink. And they're already sick of this business. This business sucks.
But think about it this way. She's wise beyond her years.
Oh, she's definitely wise beyond her years. The opposite of Ed.
What is that scene like? I mean, because we talk about Nick Wayne, and obviously we, either Brian knows his father, emailed us over the years, Keith. I'm sure Buddy did. So it's like he's in the business. But Billy Wayne, I know her father or stepfather. Billy Starks, I'm sorry, is a photographer. Is a photographer. But there seems to be a lot of people coming out of the Midwest, whether it be Akira or Cole Radrick or Billy. There seems to be a lot of young talent working kind of all over the place, or
Yeah,
we've gone full circle back to the days of the territories.
It's nice. It's nice. There's a lot of really cool talent right now in the Midwest, and it's something where the Midwest for a while had some good runs, but it was something where we at AAW were able to have the best independent stars around, and the last 3 years have changed that dramatically. So it's something where we've had to sit there and go with talents that are a little bit more local or within the Midwest. Guys like Mr. Ren Jones, guys like Russ Jones. And I hate the fact that two guys have the same last name, but I understand now why Vince hates it as well. There's a lot of really great talent out there right now. We're going to really expose a lot of them tonight on Fight TV during our Independence Day.
Can I, at some point, interview Big Beef Gnarls Garvin?
Oh, you should. He's fantastic. He really has gone over proof that Chicago indeed loves beef. But yeah, no, he's great, amazing talent. The matches that he's had in AEW with Fred Yehai, and the one he recently had with Mike Bennett, which is now available on our on-demand site and also on the High Spots Network, is definitely worth checking out. He is really someone that's gotten over with the crowd.
Keith, talk a little bit about how people can see you more, because I remember, we talked about it a lot. There was going to be constriction and a lot of things changing during the pandemic, and obviously the rise of AEW. And I know it's an extra thing for you in Chicago because they're always there, but how can people see not only this show, which is on Fight TV, all your live events, but how can they go back if they do like something and check out some of the things you've done? Because there have been so many people that have gone through AAW now, and maybe people don't realize that and realize the level of matches that have taken place over the last couple of years.
It's something where I looked 4 years ago. We had a show with about 50 people on it, and about 40 of them went through WWE or AEW or are there currently right now. So it's really, we've grown a lot, and you can see all our live shows, all our old shows on AEW On Demand, and also check it out on the High Spots Video Network. And then also check out YouTube. Our YouTube channel has been posting a lot of stuff. We recently put out a reaction show, which has all the major storylines and promos and vignettes for the show that's coming on tonight. And we'll be doing that shortly after tonight's show for the show that we got coming up during All Out weekend, because of course Chicago needs to sell more wrestling tickets.
Which match tonight's going to steal the show, Keith?
There is a potential Hoss battle that I'm looking forward to that will be announced at the show, featuring multiple men of big mass and plunder. I think the tag team title match with Josh C., an incredible talker, a fantastic young athlete from Minnesota, and ACH versus Ace Perry and Hammerstone for the AEW tag team titles. I think that's going to be good. I'm curious about the main event. Right now we have former champion Fred Yehi facing Manders earlier on in the show, and the winner of that match will face our heavyweight champion Matt Fitchett at the end of the night for the belt. So any of those matches could potentially steal a show. So I'm really looking forward. I think this is a really, really solid show, and I think anyone that's in Chicago that really hates rain and doesn't want to feel like going outside, come down to 115 Bourbon, get some cheap drinks, and enjoy some really, really good independent pro wrestling.
You know, Keith, you've been appearing on the show here and there since 2005. And in 2005, if you ran a show, we'd be talking about where to get the videotape afterwards. And then you lived through that era, and then you lived through the era where people were trying to stream, but it sucked, and it was a failure. And all people talk about. It still
sometimes sucks, though.
It does, but I mean,
it's something where we had an issue 2 shows ago where the stream was down for the majority of the show, and it's just like, wow. You know, I really was. I had in my drafts of tweets, "How's the stream, everybody?" But I decided not to.
Well, you know, it was so bad at one point that it was pretty much acknowledged streaming will never work. Like, it'll never work ever. And then I don't even know what happened, but like, it was like over the course of a year, all of a sudden streaming worked for everybody. It wasn't
technology basically.
Well, I mean, it was, but it wasn't like
knew what they were doing a little bit.
Yeah, but it didn't seem like it was a slow thing. It was like all of a sudden one day streaming was just a failure for everybody, and then like the next day everybody was streaming, and it worked out for the most part pretty well.
And then everyone and their mother are streaming now.
Yeah,
like, I literally could have a show in this bathroom and have it on Fight for $5.99.
Well, so. I'm doing a show streaming right now from my bedroom, and you're in your bathroom, and it's somehow working.
Book a bathroom with broadband.
But anyway, really my point, because we have 1 minute left, is has this turned around the fortunes of AEW?
Yes and no. I mean, it definitely allows us more opportunity to get in people's houses, but at the same time, people have to give us a chance. I think there's really a lot of professional wrestling that people get into right now, but it's sort of they have to sort of figure out what they like and what they don't like. So it's something where give AEW a try. Give us $12.95 tonight on Fight, and we will give you a fantastic show. And hopefully you enjoy it and tell all your friends.
All right, we're going to head to a break. When we come back, we'll plug the show, everything else. Back in a moment, Observer Live.
Okay.
So when he did the dive into nobody in Atlanta, and he thought that there was 2 rows of padding and there was only 1, and he blew his whole face open, I was on the other side of the ring holding up 2 guys, and he came around the corner just covered in blood. And I was just like, oh, my God, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm like, what? And then he had to get like 100 stitches, internal and external. And it like looked like a Frankenstein scar on his forehead. And the next day he was like, it's pretty good for the gimmick, right? I'm like, dude, what? Like, I would cry if my face like looked like that. But he didn't care at all. Another one was he was wrestling Matt Taven. I think it was in Toronto. And I think this was a Ring of Honor World Championship match, possibly. They had a spot where Vinny Marseglia he slid in the axe, and they were going to give him a drop toe hold onto the axe blade that was sticking straight up. And mind you, this was a real axe. PCO just headbutted the axe, and I have a photo on my phone where he just has a perfect line across his forehead that's bleeding. So he just tried to decapitate himself with an axe. And then there was the one at MSG where he took a power bomb from the ring onto the floor, and then he sat up and no sold it. So those are like the top 3 that come off the top of my head, but I'm sure that there's more. I could do a whole podcast on crazy things that PCO has tried to convince me of.
There's a good podcast idea for you, because man, that axe one, I can't even fathom that whatsoever. But it's so cool because I've gotten to see PCO perform, now a lot live, and every single time I'm like, what the hell is he gonna do? And every single time he crosses like this new line where I'm like, damn, I had no idea PCO would do that or could do that. Thank you guys so much for watching the Brody King Q&A. See you next time.
Back on the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live, Mike Sempervive, the Doctor, Keith Lipinski. Tonight, July 15th, 115 Bourbon Street, Marionette Park, Illinois. It's AEW's Pro Wrestling Presents Independent Day. 6 o'clock p.m. doors, 6:45 and live taping, 7:30 bell time. Front row sold out, front row stage sold out, second row stage sold out. Low ticket warning for the second row. Third row going quickly. General admission is available. Keith, what do we got coming up tonight? And where can you watch it if you're not in the area?
Many, many matches. Definitely check it out. The main event, our AEW Heavyweight Champion, Matt Fitchett, will face the winner of Fedye High and the one called Manders earlier on the show. The Women's Championship will be decided. Also, the tag team titles with Jossie and ACH going for revenge against Hammerstone and Diamond Cut Ace Perry. We also have a Humongous Hoss fight, which I'm really looking forward to, that I can't say that much about here because we have not announced it yet, but I'm giving you guys a little bit of the scoop. So much more action here. We have a mystery tag team partner match with Braden Lee and a partner of his choosing versus Silas Young and a partner of his choosing. That and really so much more. You definitely have to check it out. Watch it on Fight TV. Support us. Follow us on AEW Pro. We'll be doing tons of promos and videos tonight. Follow us on the Twitter. Follow us on the Instagram and everything else. And definitely continue to support independent pro wrestling because we love you.
My God, what a professional old Dr. Keith is. Well, I want to thank you for doing the show today, and we'll do this again sometime.
This is how old Dr. Keith is, too. There was a newsletter that Bryan used to have. You see all those special thanks. Yeah.
Oh, he's in there for the special thanks? Wow.
Yeah.
I think I put him in there every single week without fail just because he was so loyal. Is that right, Keith?
I was very, very loyal. Like, remember when Mike and I took over the Flying Mare for a while, and it just the quality went down quickly.
Yeah, it didn't fly anymore after that. It was just the mare.
It was just the mare.
He called it. Anyway, we're out of time. I want to thank y'all for listening today. Mike, as always, callers, listeners, Dr. Keith. We'll talk to you again next time. Wrestling Observer Live.